afternoon. We welcome everyone today, August 28, 2020, who are joining us both online or represented by proxy to Leisure and Resorts World Corporation's 2019 Annual Stockholders Meeting. My name is Fred Reyes. I'm the Investor Relations Officer and your MC for this meeting. We will now ask you to please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the national anthem.
Let us bow our heads. Today, we ask for your Spirit to be at work in our midst, that you may stir up in us the gifts we need to lead LRWC with integrity and focus to the task at hand. Give us the courage to not only consider ourselves, but all those who are affected by the decisions we make. Help us to remember those who labor on our behalf, our employees, our partners, and all those whose livelihood is connected to this organization. We give you thanks for our investors and shareholders who have placed their trust in us, and we ask for courage and wisdom to be good stewards of both their trust and their resources. Finally, we give you thanks so that we may continue to serve you and the world through the work you have given us to do. Amen.
Thank you. Prior to the meeting agenda, these are a few house rules regarding the voting procedures for everyone's benefit. 1. Stockholders who registered under the voting in absentia and shareholder system or who signified by email that they will be participating by remote communication may email questions or comments at investorrelations@lrwc.com.ph after this meeting. For proper order, the moderator will read out questions during the Q&A session scheduled at the end of this meeting. Questions that were not taken up during the meeting may still be directed to our investor relations team at investorrelations@lrwc.com.ph. Due to technical restrictions, questions sent through this Zoom chat will not and cannot be entertained. The voting results and proposed resolutions will be shown for each agenda item. Votes received through proxy as of 5:30 p.m. August 20, 2020, and votes cast through online registration and email as of 5:30 p.m. August 27, 2020, will be shown for each relevant agenda item. The final results of the votes cast will be reflected in the minutes of this meeting, which will be posted on the company's website starting tomorrow, August 29, 2020. The proceedings for this afternoon's ASM will be recorded. Should our viewers or attendees encounter any technical problems or lags during this meeting, we apologize, but we will not have the capability to offer assistance. We will need to continue on with the meeting. Nevertheless, this is being recorded. A copy of this will be uploaded on our website for your reference. Our chairman, Mr. Eusebio Tanco, will now start the meeting properly. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, your mic is on mute.
Somebody muted me. Anyway, shall I start again?
Yes, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. In compliance with the Department of Health's advisory to avoid physical mass gatherings and for the health and safety of our stockholders, directors, officers, and other stakeholders, the company will conduct for the first time its annual stockholders meeting online via video conference. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. It is now 2 o'clock, now 2:05, and as the chairman of this meeting, I hereby call the meeting to order. Before we proceed, I'd like to introduce to you the board members present here today. Mr. Eng Hun Chua, Mr. Alfredo Abelardo B. Benitez, Mr. Johnson Chung, Mr. Anthony Almeida, Mr. Lawrence Cobancat, Mr. Paulo Martin O. Bautista, Mr. Renato Nunez, Mr. Willie Osier, Mr. Max Aaron Wong, Mr. Ignatius Yenko, and myself, Eusebio H. Tanco. Also, I would like to acknowledge the presence of Cicit Gores Velayo and Company, our auditing firm, headed by Ms. Maria Pilar Hernandez. Our compliance officer, Attorney Christine Margaret de los Reyes, and our corporate secretary, Attorney Carol Padilla. For the orderly and efficient conduct of the meeting, any further questions in connection to any matters to be discussed herein that were not sent to our email prior to this meeting will be entertained after the meeting is adjourned. In order for us to properly address your questions, please send the same through email at investorrelations@lrwc.com.ph. And our investor relations team will get back to you regarding your concerns. Now, may I now call on our corporate secretary, Attorney Carol Padilla, to certify to the sending out of the notices for this annual stockholders meeting, and if a quorum exists to conduct this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon. I certify that the notice and agenda for the 2020 annual meeting of the stockholders was disclosed in the Philippine Stock Exchange's EDGE submission system and uploaded in the company's website on July 14, 2020. The notice and agenda for the meeting were also published in newspapers of general circulation, specifically in Business Mirror and Business World, both in print and online, on August 3 and 4, 2020. The notice and agenda were further sent to stockholders by mail and messengerial services to all shareholders as of record date at their respective addresses of record. The notices were sent out at least 21 days prior to the annual stockholders meeting in accordance with the requirements of the revised Corporation Code and the applicable SEC regulations at that time. Through the notice, the stockholders were informed that due to the community quarantine in effect in Luzon, the company will not be conducting a physical annual stockholders meeting, and instead, the 2020 annual stockholders meeting will be streamed live. The stockholders have also been notified that they can cast their votes remotely, through proxy, or in absentia, by sending their votes via email to investorrelations@lrwc.com.ph on or before 5:30 p.m. on August 27, 2020. For the stockholders who cannot attend the meeting, they were given until August 21, 2020 to submit their respective proxies. In view of the community quarantine, the company waived the submission of hard copies of their proxies and other supporting documents. Votes cast through proxies and received via email as of 5:30 p.m. on August 27, 2020 will be flashed on the screen for each agenda. The final tabulation of votes will be reflected in the minutes of the 2020 ASM. Mr. Chairman, I certify that we have a quorum to conduct this meeting. As of 2:00 p.m. today, August 28, 2020, 11 stockholders are participating remotely or in absentia, and 17 stockholders are represented in proxy for a total of 1,692,190,205 shares. These have all been registered for today's annual stockholders meeting. These shares constitute 70% or more than 2/3 of 2,417,500,000 outstanding shares of the company entitled to vote. These amounts have been verified and confirmed by the representatives of STSI, our stock and transfer agent, who are present with us today.
Ladies and gentlemen, moving on to the next item in the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting of the stockholders held on July 26, 2019, a copy of which is included in the information package, which was earlier distributed to every stockholder of record. A copy of the minutes was also uploaded in the company's website. Madam Secretary, do we have the proposed resolution on this item and voting results?
Mr. Chairman, the adoption of the resolution is on the screen. It reads, the reading of the minutes of the annual meeting of the stockholders held on July 26, 2019 is dispensed with, and all matters included in the minutes are considered complete and accurate and are approved for all intents and purposes. We are proposing the approval of the 2019 minutes. On the votes cast, 99.93% of the shares represented in this meeting voted in favor of the resolution. The resolution is therefore approved.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thus, the motion is carried. Let us now proceed to the next item in the agenda. May I call on the company's president, Mr. Eng Han Chua, to deliver the report.
Dear valued shareholders, good afternoon. Since March 2020, the coronavirus has overtaken our life and transformed the world. As we face the looping effect of this pandemic, we urge everyone to remain focused on what we can do to stay resilient and well-positioned to support our colleagues, business partners, shareholders, customers, and the community across the country. Year 2019 was definitely a defining year for LRWC. We entered this predicament in a position of strength. We were able to acquire a private placement from new investors. With this new adjustment, the firm managed a consolidated revenue of 10.6 billion, an increase of 7.1% as of December 2019 versus 9.9 billion in 2018. We have delivered significant results, and we are optimistic to continue to doing so in the futures. Though it should be expected our earnings will not be spared from the year 2020 global crisis. However, these challenges brought us by the global pandemic also posed an opportunity for us, an opportunity to improve and innovate. It is our promise that we will work hard to explore new ways, and not only to cope with the situation, but also to beat it by bringing continuous and new way of income generations. For now, let me walk you through the summary of what has transpired in year 2019 operation. Retail division consolidated gross revenue contribution for year 2019, a 10% increase to 8.2 billion. The growth was mainly due to a strong revenue increase driven by improved gaming site, opening of new venues, and robust product offering during the year. AB Leisure exponent Able reported a gross revenue of 7.9 billion for the year 2019, a 10% increase from 7.1 billion in the year of 2018. With 11,000 e-bingo machines in 152 bingo parlors, Able continued to surpass its competitors with innovative transformation in the gaming industry, deliver greater efficiency, cost saving, and improved lead conversions. Total Game Zone Extreme Incorporated TGXI gross revenue, on the other hand, climbed 6.9% to 311 million versus 291 million in the year of 2018. Casino division has been through both up and down. Its consolidated gross revenue contribution slightly decreased by 7% year-on-year to 1.3 billion from the previous year of 1.4 billion. Blue Chip Gaming Corporation, or Blue Chip, posted a gross revenue contribution of 636 million, an increase of 18% from the 535 million recorded in 2018. Blue Chip remained bullish about the project that improved the gaming experience of its patrons and targeted promotion campaigns such as acquisition of Paco San Pedro outlets, additional of slot machines, additional of in-house services, and many more. Prime Investment Korea, PK, recorded a decrease of 23% or 689 million from last year 895 million. Leisure Resort World Corporation shares in Hotel Enterprise Philippines net income totals 150 million, or an increase of 30% from last year shares in the net income of 140 million. Online divisions, First Kagyan Leisure and Resort Corporations, and LR Data Center and Solutions never lost sight of its opportunity even in a very challenging period and business landscape. First Kagyan gross revenue for 2019 is 458 million, higher by 16% from the previous year of 395 million. While LR Data gross revenue gained 20% to 100 million from a year ago, 82 million. Both remain resilient and creative in many different ways to stay on course. Property division remained strong and stable in the year of 2019 as AB LGI or AB Leisure Global managed to retain its gross revenue at 8.5 million, which is same with last year. However, there is a significant increase in the value of the land that it holds. Because of this, the net income of AB LGI has increased tremendously to 1.4 billion from last year of 580 million. LR Land, on the other hand, reported a gross revenue of 38 million in 2019. This registered 126% increase compared to last year of 17 million. With the significant amount acquired from the private placement, LRWC was able to pay a total amount of 1.6 billion debt off its books. The company was able to set aside cash needed for the redemption of 1.65 billion preferred share at the par value of 1 peso per share, which happened on January 2020. This meant we were able to reduce company original of 7.7 billion debts to 4.1 billion. The company has streamlined its costs and expenses as well. With this, LRWC carries less burden off its shoulders and is given more room to explore new business opportunities. While the future remains uncertain, especially during this period of time, we will continue to do our part to help the government navigate this difficult period. We shall bring our businesses forward, and we are determined to turn this uncertainty into a fruitful opportunities. We are continuously re-evaluating the situation, and we have been busy the past few months planning for the safety measure under the new normals and making sure that we comply with all the government requirements so that when things have turned around in our favor, we can get back to business and our site employees will be able to get back to their feet. We would like to express our deep gratitude and appreciation for the tremendous characters and capability of the board, the management, and all our employees, and how everyone has coped during this time of adversities with grace and grit. Additionally, we would like to take this opportunity to extend our appreciation and gratitude to two of our directors for the year of untiring services to our companies, as they have now stepped down from their positions. Thank you very much, Mr. Anthony Almeida and Mr. Ignacio Sienko, for all the support this year. It was great time serving the company with you, and LRWC truly honored to have both of you as part of our board for these past years. In closing, we would like to thank our stakeholders for their engagement and continued trust and support for LRWC. We are confident that we will get through these unprecedented situations. Together, we shall stay on top of our game.
Thank you, President Eng. The next item of business is approval of the annual report and the audited financial statements for the fiscal year 2019, copies of which were duly disclosed and circulated to the stakeholder. Madam Secretary, do we have the proposed resolutions on this item and the voting results?
Mr. Chairman, the adoption of the resolution is on the screen. It reads, the annual report and audited financial statements for the fiscal year 2019, electronic copies of which having been made available in the company's website and in the Philippine Stock Exchange's EDGE submission system, and as circulated together with the information package to the shareholders are hereby approved. We are proposing the approval of the 2019 minutes. On the votes cast, 99.93% of the shares represented in this meeting voted in favor of the resolution. The resolution is therefore approved.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thus, the motion is carried. Let us now proceed to the next item in the agenda. The next item in the agenda is the ratification of all acts and proceedings of the Board of Directors and Management since the last annual stockholders meeting, including but not limited to the following. 1, the approval of the authorized bank signatories on the following banks: A, Banco de Oro; B, United Coconut Planters Bank; C, Asia United Bank; D, Philippine Business Bank; E, Union Bank of the Philippines. Second item is the approval of the appointment of the representatives to sign the application for additional listing of shares with the Philippine Stock Exchange. 3, the approval of the redemption of 1,650,000,000 preferred shares at the redemption price of 1 peso per share on the 31st of January 2020. 4, approval of LRWC's related party transaction policies as required by the Securities and Exchange Commission Memorandum Circular number 10, series of 2019. 5th, approval of the updated authorized bank signatories on the following bank: A, United Coconut Planters Bank; 2, Union Bank of the Philippines. 6, list of office space and parking slots in the Philippine Stock Exchange Center, Ortigas Center, Pasig City. All material information and transactions were duly disclosed to the stockholders and the public. Madam Secretary, do we have the proposed resolution on this item and the voting results?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The proposed resolution for the stockholders to ratify all acts of the Board of Directors and Officers since the last annual meeting held on July 26, 2019 is flashed on the screen. It reads, all the acts of the Board of Directors and of the officers during the fiscal year 2019 and immediately preceding August 28, 2020 annual stockholders meeting are approved, confirmed, and ratified for all intents and purposes. On the voting results, Mr. Chairman, 99.93% of the shares represented in this meeting voted in favor of the resolution. The resolution is therefore approved.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thus, the motion is carried. We now move on to the election of the members of the Board of Directors for the year 2020 to 2021. The chairman of the nomination committee, Mr. Willie O'Shea, will announce the nomination.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Based on the determination by the Nominations Committee, the following nominees for directors and independent directors were found to possess all the qualifications and none of the disqualifications of a director and independent director. Before we open the table for nominations, we wish to inform you that out of the 11 directors to be nominated and elected to the board seats of the corporation, we are required by law to nominate and elect at least 2 independent directors. The nominees to the seats for independent directors have been pre-qualified by the Nominations Committee in accordance with the requirements and procedures set forth under Rule 38 of the Securities Regulation Code. Also, in accordance with the said procedure, no nominations to the independent directors' seats will be entertained during the meeting for the election of the directors, and only the nominees in the list of Nomination Committee shall comprise the formal and final list of nominees to the said seats. At this point, may I present the final list of nominees to the independent director seats as submitted to the board by the Nomination Committee. Mr. Winston Chan and Mr. Lawrence Cobanquiat. The nominees for the remaining 9 seats in the board are as follows. Number 1, Eusebio H. Tanco. Number 2, Eng Hun Chua. Number 3, Alfredo Abelardo B. Benitez. Number 4, Paulo Martin O. Bautista. Number 5, Renato G. Nunez. Number 6, Max Aaron Wong. Number 7, Xiao Lu Lucy Dong. Number 8, Mardomeo Raimundo Jr. And number 9, yours truly, Willie N. O'Shea.
Thank you, Mr. O'Shea. Madam Secretary, may we have the result of the election?
Mr. Chairman, for the ensuing year, based on the tally of votes as confirmed by our stock transfer agent STSI, the independent party tasked to count and validate the votes of today's meeting, the 11 nominees enumerated by the chairman of the nomination committee and also listed in the definitive information statement are declared duly elected directors. The percentage of votes garnered by each director based on the number of shares represented in this meeting are shown on the screen. 99.97% of the shares represented in this meeting voted in favor of all 11 nominees.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I hereby declare the 11 nominees as duly elected directors for the ensuing year. The next matter is the appointment of external auditors. May I ask the chairman of the audit committee, Mr. Lawrence Cobanquiat, to make the recommendation?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon. The audit committee evaluated the performance during the past year of the company's present external auditor, Sisip Gores Velayo and Company, and found it to be satisfactory. The committee therefore agreed to endorse the reappointment of SGV as LRWC's external auditor for the ensuing year.
Thank you, Mr. Cobanquiat. I will now ask the corporate secretary to present the proposed resolution on this item and the voting results.
Mr. Chairman, the adoption of the resolution flashed on the screen is being proposed relative to the appointment of the external auditor. It reads The incumbent external auditor, CSIP Gores Velayo and Company, SGV, is reappointed external auditor of the company for the ensuing year. On the voting results, Mr. Chairman, 99.93% of the shares represented in this meeting voted in favor of the resolution. The resolution is approved.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thus, the motion is carried. Ladies and gentlemen, now we would like to start answering the questions that were submitted on time prior to this meeting. May I call on Mr. Freddy Reyes from our Investor Relations Department to read out the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question number 1, what are the current plans for reopening and how do the different quarantine scenarios affect the operations of LR's retail group? In relation to the retail group, we have already reopened at least 50 of 191 sites as of today. These are the following guidelines for reopening from PAGCOR. If the site is under ECQ, MECQ, the site is not allowed to reopen. If the site is under GCQ, the site can conduct a dry run and a trial run subject to the approval of the respective LGUs. If the site is under GCQ, the site can recommence operations subject to the approval of the respective LGUs. Question number 2. With regards to the 2019 annual report and the past annual reports, one of the challenges I saw was with regard to the profitability of the company is the online/property segment, specifically the business segment working with CESA. Can you share with us the direction the management is taking with regards to improving the profitability of this business segment of LRWC? This question refers to our First Cagayan Group that has an existing agreement with the Cagayan Economic Zone Authority, otherwise known as CESA. The property segment referred to is LR Land Developers, Inc., which also operates in the economic zone managed by CESA. As to the First Cagayan Group, please note that LR Land Developers, Inc. remained operational during the community quarantine period. During the ECQ, there was a mandatory lockdown and all land-based gaming was stopped. However, BPO operations in support of gaming was allowed by CESA and the licensees in the ecozone continue to operate following the quarantine procedures imposed by the government. As far as the direction to improve profitability with CESA, First Cagayan and LR Land Developers have plans to develop the infrastructure capacity and availability in the Cagayan ecozone in order to attract more applicants to operate there. We believe that if the infrastructure becomes available, we can grow our business there by increasing the number of licensees. In light of the pandemic, other gaming companies have increased and expanded their online presence, as well as the number of other gaming locations to conduct their business in. Locating and expanding in the Cagayan ecozone is a part of their plans. Number 3, what is happening to the other bingo sites? What are the safety operational measures being undertaken by the group to assure our patrons and customers that their sites are safe? As mentioned, our bingo retail operations group have already 50 sites that are operational. They have worked out guidelines so that our patrons and customers can enjoy the use of facilities while making sure our employees are provided a safe working environment. Our operations group is closely coordinating with PAGCOR in terms of the strategic guidelines and policies needed to reopen other gaming sites. They're also working with the LGUs to follow the guidelines imposed by each LGU in terms of social distancing, permits, health rules, and many others. Each LGU will have its own guidelines on when a site can open and remain open. We have prepared our own internal guidelines and continue to improve on this to make our premises safe for all our employees. But rest assured, we will always follow the guidelines of PAGCOR, the LGU, and other government agencies, such as Department of Health. Number 4, how is LRWC doing? What are the challenges in the next few months given the COVID-19 situation? The company is doing all it can to address the issues related to this pandemic: health standards, safety protocols, and proper working conditions. In the first 2 months of 2020, LRWC Retail Group achieved 4% revenue growth compared to the same period last year, as both ABOL and TJXI posted revenue increases. Growth can be attributed to improved marketing activities, additional gaming sites and machines, and faster response to operational concerns and changing market trends, which resulted from a more efficient organizational structure. However, this growth was wiped out by the abrupt and unprecedented branch closures starting mid-March, as the government declared community quarantines to prevent further spread of COVID-19. While revenue inflows were put to a halt during the quarantine, LRWC took efforts to mitigate further losses through cost containment measures, such as requesting lessors for free or lower rental charges and non-deployment of unnecessary contracted services. We have cut down our expenses significantly, and based on our projections, we will have enough for operations until the end of 2020 and on to 2021. When PAGCOR's memo regarding eventual reopening was received in the last week of May, the retail group immediately prepared and submitted strategic return to work guidelines. Sites were disinfected, physical distancing markers were set up, safety materials and reminder posters were procured and installed in the branches, and employee training on the new SOPs aimed to reduce COVID-19 transmission was conducted. By the end of June, 10 ABLE sites resumed operations at 50% occupancy, all located in MGCQ declared areas. A skeleton force was deployed to these 10 sites. We shall continue to ramp up our efforts, coming up with strategies to facilitate recovery and eventually pursue growth opportunities, while ensuring strict compliance with the rules and regulations set by the government, particularly PAGCOR and the LGUs. Our resilience will help us adapt to disruptions and changing business trends while maintaining business operations and safeguarding our people, patrons, assets, and overall brand equity. That concludes our question and answer portion. May I now turn over the floor back to the chairman.
Thank you, Freddie. At this point, we would like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Anthony Almeida and Mr. Ignatius Yenko for the many years of service as members of the Board of Directors of Leisure and Resort World Corporation. Please accept the respective plaques of appreciation that we have prepared for you. Can we show the appreciation? We will deliver this to your homes or offices. As mentioned at the beginning of this meeting, please email any other questions you may have in connection to any matter discussed in this meeting to, to investorrelations@lrwc.com.ph, and our investor relations team will get back to you regarding your concerns. If there are no more matters to be taken up, this meeting is adjourned. Again, on behalf of the Board of Directors and the management of LRWC, we express our gratitude to all those who participated in this meeting. Thank you, everyone, for your continued support, and we hope to see each other again in next year's stockholders meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Lawrence. Eng.
Bye-bye.
Rene. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Good job, Mr. Tang.
Thank you all.
Stay safe. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.